viewer, welcome again to our program, the Chris Wanjala Show. After her doctoral studies in the US, Professor Julia Ojambo took up a senior post at the University of Nairobi. Then she resigned to enter politics, and she was elected as the MP for Funyola constituency. After that, she was nominated to become the assistant minister in the Kenya government. And the rest is a lot of history, because later she participated in the affairs of the parties, different parties of this country. But right now, she's the chair of the Labour Party of Kenya, which is very well known around the country. Professor, you are welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
What we would like to know is how you have survived in this field of politics when we have so many myths about women, even religion, even at family level. People will always pull you back. I don't know how you have managed to survive in these very turbulent waters.
Well, thank you. Well, it has not always been easy.
Yes.
But so that's the case, that's the nature of our life. I have survived because I have chosen to do what I'm doing. I would want to start by saying that I had a very good early training in childhood
Yes.
by my parents.
Yes.
And I think one thing they were very good at is to train children to take the responsibility of their own lives and to learn the mechanisms of taking decisions and taking correct decisions.
That's right.
And I think although I come from a very traditional background, and just like you have said, with the tradition, with myths, and the fact that women were nothing at that
That's
time,
right.
and you are not supposed to be heard, seen but not heard. My parents caused me to learn to overcome those myths. I sat with them during their church sessions, in their congregations. They taught me how to prepare myself also to go to church. But beyond that, they taught me skills, survival skills, academic skills. They exposed us to everything that was happening. My parents were very gender sensitive. So for us, although we were children, that rural community, there were 8 of us, 6 girls and 2 boys. My father and mother were not very popular because too many girls.
Well.
And quite often my father was made to understand, and he was reminded all the time
Yes.
that he had no children.
Oh, dear me.
Because they only counted the 2 boys.
Yes.
And some of us were not counted. But he was very fond of us. And he said, these are my children, and all of them will grow up to be important persons in this country. He gave us equal opportunities to education. All the 8 of us were educated. My eldest, our firstborn in the family, was one of the first people to go to my career in this country.
Wow. Yes.
She was one of the Kenyan women to go to Britain.
That's right.
And of course, she grew up to become the first assistant commissioner of women prisons. And she's the one who started the Kodiaga prison,
That's right.
Nyeri women prisons, Langata women prisons, Nakuru women prisons. She started all these women prisons in this country. But having said that, of Ruth, others also behind her, my brother who was next year, junior, also went to Makerere.
Yes.
And then all the others all went through secondary school and became teachers in their own right or business persons. I was the 6th born in the family,
Wow. Yes.
but had opportunity to finish my secondary school,
Yes.
went through the universities, London University, Nairobi, as you know,
Yes.
went through Harvard and the USA, Boston, went through McGill doing my research,
Wow,
and
yes.
got my PhD.
Yes.
During that time, I had a lot of exposure. I think the Bible also says that if one finds oneself in a position, positioning became very important in my. I think I was properly positioned by my parents through education and training. So I found myself in a position where I was called upon to take responsibilities, and I was easily noticed. The community noticed me. The women movement in the early 60s noticed me.
That's
right. Margaret Kenyatta, Phoebe CEO, Buao, Priscilla Buao, and all these people noticed me, and they called me to come to the fore and sit with them at the East African Women Conferences of Madame Nyerere, Madame Obote, and I helped to take minutes because I knew how to write at that time. So I wrote minutes for them. And that was, in fact, political training.
Yeah, indeed.
The early politicians in the Mboyas of this world, the Gichurus, had noticed me through the training at university, and they called on me to do little work as a Kanu youth.
That's right.
And I participated in that. I was a brave child. And that always caused me to be seen. And I was easily picked upon to move on. Yeah.
Now, what intrigues me is how, when you became the MP for Funyula, what kind of challenges faced you as a woman MP and almost the second, I don't know who the first MP was for that constituency.
Grace Onyango was the only woman. But in that constituency, there was the Honorable Arthur Ochua, that was then an assistant minister.
That's right.
In forestry.
Yeah.
And was related to Mzee Jomo Kenyatta's family by marriage.
Okay.
So it was a challenge. I went to challenge the top.
That's right.
But I challenged it because it was like a calling. Having grown up in that community, I had noticed a lot of needs. And having from there gone to University of Nairobi, having been a teacher in home economics.
That's right.
From there I went to London and did my postgraduate diplomas in planning for community nutrition programs.
Okay.
That was a very enriching experience. And then having gone to Harvard and completed my Master of Science degree in also alongside the public health scholars, I had learned a lot.
So that training really brought you very close to the community.
Very close to the community. At that time, there were lots of things that were happening in this country. I had the opportunity to rub shoulders with the scholars like Professor Jelif, who was doing public health work in East Africa during the Kwashiorkor and protein deficiency, malnutrition. And I had seen the suffering of our people. I had seen women, mothers, and parents die of malnutrition. And of course, lots of other diarrheal diseases.
That's right.
So that was an exposure. I was very close to the family from my mother's experience. And then leadership, which I had seen and admired from my parents. They showed me how to lead spiritually and socially.
That's right.
And then through them I had seen political leadership in the Mboyas, in the Gichurus, and so on. So all these things gave me opportunity to choose what to be in the classroom or be with the people. And you know, as a scholar, had quickly seen everything from Harvard to Nairobi, through London, Germany. What hadn't I seen?
That's right.
My choice was to work with the poor, help the underdogs.
That's right.
And I chose to go. But my community also spotted me, and they asked me to come and lead them. Because at that time, the women were not recognized in many communities in this country. And in my own community, Samias, we were not recognized. Very few of us as women had really seen education, except for my family. No other parents had really thought it necessary. My father had been scorned and for educating women. But the community was very happy when I came back with my PhD. They said, this is the girl who must lead us.
That's right.
She has also gotten a PhD like men. That very difficult degree for any person to get.
That's right.
So they said, can you also lead? And I said, yes. But we have seen you doing some things in this community. Can you accept to be a member of parliament?
Yes.
I said, I can. But of course, Hillary said she can. He's the one.
I know, right?
He said she can.
Yes.
And my father-in-law quickly said, yes. My parents had passed. My mother and father were not there.
Okay.
But my father-in-law was very interesting. He also had seen those talents in me. And he said, I will stand by this lady, and I would like her to be the member of parliament for this area. My father-in-law led the crusade for me to be.
Yes.
And his age mates in the society came together and said, oh, for a long time, this community, we have been eating with the right hand.
Yes.
For them, you know, the right hand is the man.
That's right.
The left hand is the woman.
Yes.
This time we want to choose to eat with the left hand. Can the left hand put food in our mouth?
Yes.
And, you know, they coined songs about that.
That's right.
And that really encouraged me. And they said, even if you don't know the language, political language, we'll teach you the language. The language is going to be around development.
Yes.
And we'll tell you what to say when you get to what area of this constituency. We want maendeleo. And maendeleo, it's you. Because of maendeleo ya wanawake organization to which I also belonged.
Now, what, Prof, when you entered Parliament, how many women were in Parliament at that time?
Ahead of us was just Grace Onyang.
Okay.
And we came in. I came in with Nyiva Mwendwa.
Yes.
And Chelegat Mutai, and then Grace Onyang herself, so the four of us. And then two were nominated, Eda Gachukia.
Yes.
And Mrs. Gechaga at that time.
That's right.
That's all.
Jemima.
Jemima Gechaga.
Yes, yes. Now one wonders, because that time you have to do the work of the constituency and then do the work of as a government assistant minister or a minister. At the same time, you have to do the international job, like now the UN. To what extent were you involved in the UN activities?
Quite a lot.
Yes.
In fact, I started the UN conference project.
Yes.
Myself, because I was elected to Parliament in 1974, end of 1974, and made an assistant minister in charge of the women desk.
Yes.
And I picked up the challenge. The following year, January 1975, in December, the UN had passed a resolution to start the International Women's Year. And so the Assistant Secretary of United Nations came around to encourage governments to start on that project. And I was given that project by the government. And they said, you have to start, and you are going to take these women in 5 years' time. In 1 year's time to Mexico, United Nations Women Conference.
Yes.
And therefore you have to prepare a government paper. We had no information on women. I took the community development assistance at that time, and we just went out and went around the whole country from sublocation to sublocation, district to district, and collected information. We came and analyzed it, prepared a government document approved by the government for us to take to Mexico.
Yes. Now we are in a new dispensation with this new constitution, and so much is now happening in this country. What kind of vision do you have for the new Kenya now under new constitution, and indeed the politics of the girl child and so on? Just in a nutshell. Yes.
Yeah, new dispensation, but you know it has to be built on something.
That's right.
So we have come a long way. 74, 75, 80, United Nations Women Conference in Nairobi. Beijing. In Nairobi, we're talking about women advancement. You know, from my kind of background to somebody to recognize that we must, as women, advance. From just women in development to advancement.
Yes.
Advancement here was a new language. just like new constitution dispensation
Yes.
is new language to us.
Absolutely.
Here it was seen like women rebelling because the world was talking about emancipation. The developed world was talking about women emancipation.
Yes.
We are talking about women in development.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about women rebel. We are not rebels.
No.
We wanted to come along with the men, with the family, and develop together. So we have come a long way. Out of that, we became models. As we were seen to be rebels in the front, we were also creating models, role models for the families,
Yes.
for the Turkana family,
Yes, yes.
for the Pokot,
Absolutely.
for the Samia,
Yes.
for the Nandi,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yes.
They looked at Julia Ojambo.
Yes.
They looked at Dagachukia.
Yes.
They looked at Phoebe Asio. They looked at Jane Kiano.
Yes.
Said, but these women are holding on, and they actually are making difference. They are creating new environment for us to move on
Absolutely.
into economic development, social empowerment, and so on.
Yes.
So they also accepted to send the girl child to school. And you see how the girl child has come up in no time.
In
And
fact,
I'm
the
so
boy
proud of
child is
Kenya.
in danger of being outstripped.
Because out of the few of us,
Yes.
the girl child has been accepted by the society. Out of the kind of leadership that Hillary gave me as a
Yes.
woman to move on.
Yes.
Now many men are allowing their women to go to parliament.
Absolutely.
And parents are saying, you too must go to the front. Out of assistant ministership and the leadership of the Women Decade Conference, leading the Kenya delegations to international fora and negotiating Habitat to come to Nairobi,
Yes.
negotiating for, maybe for the formation of a population council without,
Yes.
which, because that was reality, life reality, meaning that we are able also to choose what is right for Kenyan nation.
Yes.
The society saw that the women can also do right things. And today, we are not ashamed to support women to become presidents of this country.
A good leader is both a man and a woman. Is this the reason why we are also emphasizing, like the gender commission that we have now?
Yes.
Do you think it is also helping to improve equality rather than disparity? Now we are talking about the gender commission. It is accepted as a feature in our government and so on.
Yes.
How do you explain its presence now? Is it throwing new light to the issue of gender and all that?
Yeah, because the language of gender is not yet well established in our society, in our communities. We still have pockets in our own communities where people still believe that the man is the leader, where communities still believe that leadership is for men, and the women still serve in subservient positions. But we are saying that leadership is not only in parliament, leadership is also in the church, it is also in the farming sector, it's also in the home management, it's all over. And therefore they slowly, at that level, that leadership at the family level can also be translated into men and women leadership.
Yes.
And if both of them accepted that to have our children educated like Julia was educated,
Yes.
that you needed Julia's mother and Julia's father working together. My mother as an evangelist and my father as a padre, accepting that our children must be equal as God has created them.
Yes.
In his own image. And that way we moved on. And we are saying today that gender desk at all the ministries should encourage the women to work together. I'm very encouraged these days when I hear families, leadership, men and women even campaigning for our little girls in the schools to have sanitary pads. That's a step forward. That in itself shows the acceptance with which the notion of equality has permeated, that the brothers are now becoming also what you call them, shepherds
Yes.
of their sisters,
Yes,
and
indeed.
sisters on the other
Vice versa.
side
Yes.
are doing the same.
Mm.
And it's a very comfortable environment where this society is heading is the right direction.
Absolutely. Now, Prof, there is the other issue of party politics, especially campaign time. You are leader of the Labour Party of Kenya.
Yes.
And during the period of campaign, we tend to be perhaps too emotional as a country. And there's a way in which perhaps we lose the real essence of issues and so on. What advice can you give to our party leaders, your colleagues who are party leaders, now that we are now moving towards the 2012 general elections? Mm-hmm. What kind of advice do you have for the youth, for the leaders, and all of us?
You know, I have maintained in our Labour Party that we must teach this nation to accept that for any good governance, we must have a basis in politics. Political education is a good thing. It helps the community to be more sensitive to the people's needs. And good politics is not dirty politics. It should be politics of management, politics of ethics, politics of health, politics of education. And that's what I teach my members to be.
Yes.
That's our political education. And I believe that all the political leaders are seeing this as very important aspect. Because today you cannot dwell on a parochial stage politics anymore. No. These young people will read through you and tell you you are nothing. You are not bringing anything on the table. They want brain. They want development. They want strategies, ICT. They want engineering. They want their water. They want their good health. They are talking about going to the moon. And you are telling them, oh, you stand on the stage and start abusing each other and telling another one how stupid they are. Nobody is stupid in this country. So I just want to advise my colleagues in leadership of political parties to start to wake up and start talk about politics of peace,
yes,
politics of unity in practical sense, and politics of advancement, like we did for the women.
Yes.
We have advanced them.
Absolutely.
And we must advance our communities.
That is exemplary.
Yes, out of poverty, out of corruption. Imagine the things that we are being associated with.
Yes.
Corruption, and it's eaten into us, and the leadership is accepting it. We have to teach our leaders to move away from luring vote through manipulation. And you know those who manipulate using resources, money, they think they have won leadership. For me, I still believe that we can do better. That I can be elected as a leader, like the Labour Party elects me, without having paid them. But they look at all the boys and girls, all the men and women in the party and say, Mama, you can still lead us again.
Right, yes.
Because they know I can bring something on the table towards improving their status as leaders. And there's a lot that we can do together as a community, as leadership, and lead from the front without having to buy the leadership. And that notion that we must buy the leadership is what has brought into our midst corruption. Today is a disease. We talk about it, but we are not getting rid of it because the leadership still believes that they must corrupt, they must buy, they must cheat to be noticed. And then the worst thing about it is that our voters still believe at Yula and I, that who has is the one that. So we are telling our leaders, our voters, you must shun from that. I would rather you said, the one who will take my child to school, and taking the child to school does not mean paying fees. Have a school available, have a road to school available, have electricity at the classroom ready for the child to be able to read the books,
Yes.
have the books ready for the teacher to apply to your child, have the chalk and everything ready. The one who will bring those things together is better than the one who is going to give you 1,000 shillings today and you eat and finish, and tomorrow is on the forefront again abusing you when you go to look for a job from him, because the job will not be available. So to my, and I'm glad you've asked me that question. It's not an easy question. It's not as easy as is said, that we must teach leadership to accept that our communities must be led in the correct way, and that we do need to develop a human conscience that shuns deceit,
Yes.
violence, and corruption.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Prof, there is the other issue of the role of the church. I can see you developed on in a lot of proximity with the church. Your parents were members of the church and so on. Is there a role in our current situation, the role of the mosque or the church in our evolution as a state? What kind of challenge does the church have in what you have just said now? Can the church, can the mosque, can those religious organizations also help us in shaping the youth so that they appreciate our politics more meaningfully than perhaps we are doing?
Indeed, they have.
Yes.
When we talk about civic education, we are talking about what the church actually does. We're just trying to translate a little bit of what the church does. To me, what my father taught me at that time, we didn't have civic education, but he taught me more than what I see in the civic education programs today. He taught me to look after the disabled. He taught me to take the children to nursery school. He taught me to cook with mothers, and he taught me to show them how to care for each other, and therefore and he taught me never to steal. Yes. And all these things are what the church is teaching us today. To live in peace with your neighbor, it literally means those good things that we talk about, ethics and politics.
Yes.
And we write big memos and cause politicians to sign, don't go and fight. Those are the things the church should be making sure that the people that have gone through their communities are properly prepared. And in fact, candidates should be prepared spiritually too by the churches. The churches should be in the forefront of identifying candidates in their own counties now and sitting them down and talking to them. Instead of asking them to come and do harambe for construction of churches, bring them together to teach them the tenets of leadership. Like Christ taught us. Yes. He never fought. He was very humble, but he was a very impactful teacher and leader.
Yes.
And we should lead like Christ did.
That's right.
He left example that will remain with us forever, but in a very humble way. Leadership today can do much more, maybe for a time, than he did in his time. We can't say that we can do beyond that because he is godly, but we can do as near to that as possible. So the church has a big role.
Yes.
Particularly now that we are heading for 2012. And you hear a lot of a repetition of if we don't do this, we'll do it like we did in 2008-7.
Yes.
We don't envisage those things happening. Because after that we have had the church come along with us in a very big way, although some remained on the side, did not support the constitution. But now that the constitution is with us, it is upon the church to ensure that the best out of it is put in place. And the best out of it to be put in place is not to repeat violence, not to repeat buying of votes, deceit, hate speeches, and what have you. So the church has a big role.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now, Prof, we have moved from, as a politician, as a leader, you are faced with not just your constituents, but the county. Yes. We are now talking of very different offices, governors, senators, and even MPs.
Right.
How do you see that coming in your own perspective?
I think it's a good thing. We asked for it.
Yes.
We wanted to spread out leadership to many people. We wanted to stop anarchy. You know, one person sitting there and saying, if you don't sing my song, your child will not go to school. Then you disabled person, if you don't come and kneel before me, I'll not give you rations. You know, this is what has been happening.
Yes.
Exploitation. And the Kenyans are very good at exploiting each other. Now leadership is spread. In the same county, you have those vying for senator, have those vying for the positions for the disabled persons. You have the youth vying for their positions. You have the women in their positions. You have the general senator and the member of parliament. And all this, about 6 positions, from the same voters. So we have enough to share around.
You don't think there will be a conflict of interest?
There shouldn't be no conflict of interest. We have enough. If my brother is not a senator, let my brother be a member of parliament. Let my brother be or support the woman leader because probably she's my mother or my sister. Let all these people support the youth because it comes from my own environment. Let them support the disabled person. We are sharing out. And all these people are going to bring resources. They are going to bring ideas. They are going to bring leadership. And this leadership must work together. The political parties have accepted to work together. We now sit as National Political Parties Liaison Committee. All the 47 political parties, we sit under the registrar of political parties.
Yes.
And we talk about national agenda without noticing that I come from Labour Party and the other one comes from ODM. When we are sitting as 47 political parties, we don't recognize our political parties by name. We can do that at a county level, only 6. And that is leadership from the same community, it's just one family. So we are saying today, instead of sending 1 person, you can send 6 persons. And it will happen. At local level, it's not just a councillor, it's a member of the assembly down there.
Yes.
With their own budget. They'll also bring resources.
Absolutely.
The lady MP will bring a lot of resources from parliament.
Yes.
The senator is bringing a lot of resources. So imagine all these resources coming to the same community.
That's
so
right.
we say, thank you, God. What we prayed for has come.
Yes.
Yes, we must implement this new constitution.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, of course, you are a mother, you are a leader. What's your word of advice to our young viewers, the youth, the young adults, and who are also aspiring for leadership in the immediate future?
Yes, the youth is not an issue, just like adulthood is not an issue. I want to tell all of us to accept ourselves as Kenyans, and let's address our Kenyan nation. A youth tomorrow will be an elder. Today you are considered young, but that's only age. It gives you just opportunity to learn from the past and bring it to the center. Tomorrow, you can't say what's happening tomorrow. It'll be a challenge to you. But you can see or you have experience of yesterday, bring it to the center. So I'm telling you, the young people, please come to the center and learn quickly from what is happening so that you prepared yourself to go out as a responsible person, to be accountable for your activities. Don't go with your youthfulness and think that all the youth around you don't know what they are doing. They are very clever. Some of them have been to Harvard and back,
Yes.
Cambridge and back. They have been to Japan.
Yes.
They are from Finland. They are all over. They have seen the world. They have a very good experience to bring to you. So youth leadership does not mean that a youth leader will only go to lead the youth in this nation. We lead the elders, we lead the women, we lead the youth, the disabled, the economically empowered persons, the poor, the engineer, and everybody, the medical personnel, all of them, the lawyers, are going to be under you. So prepare yourself to be able to cater for the needs of all these people as a young person.
Viewer, That was Professor Julia Ojambo, a seasoned politician, academician, and a leader who has seen the devolution of the position of women participation in our political life in this country. It has been a pleasure to hear from her, and we look forward, in fact, to have even more time because we have hardly exhausted the subject. And it is my pleasure, Professor, to have had you in the studio, and I'm sure that you'll have more time so that we share even more from you.
Thank you, Professor Angel.
It was my delight to have you.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.